Okay, welcome to the third part of symbolizations. And as you have seen that the first two videos were a little bit shorter because we were trying to discuss certain types of, I will say, symbolization, which we have not discussed basically when we were discussing the theory of symbolization. So in this part of the lecture, which is going to be a little bit extended one because we are planning to keep it longer so that we can take more and more types of question. So what I have planned is that we will take questions and we will not take questions just like that. We will take questions and we will put the theory completely. Rather than what we will do is that we will take questions and try to understand the structure of that say statement, and then we will try to symbolize it. But before that, maybe we can take a few questions from the book. I have kept a few questions from the book. So like let us take an example. Like we'll start with the most simple of all the symbolizations. Like suppose if there is a company, so I can keep the company like Rolex does not make, say, computers. So as you can see that it is a very simple negation, right? Or a negation which is coming from we are negating an assertion that Rolex is making computers. So this is one of the simplest example, as you know, and this is something which we will keep as a negation of R. So it will be a negation of R symbolization. So given this understanding, or given this, so you understand that this is the most simplest of all the kind of symbolizations which can come, like something is the negation of an assertion. But the questions may not come usually like this. It will be more like a combination of a lot of symbolizations. So let us take a complex one and try to see if we can make the symbolization. There are a lot of questions in the books and very good questions in the book. So we will start with a basic one. Let us take this one. Both Rahul and Varun are not winners. So this is the first one. Fine. Then there can be neither Rahul nor Varun are winners. So let us start with these two. The first one says both Rahul and Varun are not winners. The second one says neither Rahul nor Varun are winners. Okay. So or is a winner. In fact, grammatically it will be is a winner, right? So we can remove this and we can put it as is a winner. Let me tell you, we know either or symbolizations are basically a wedge symbolization. Neither nor is just putting a negation outside it. So neither Rahul nor Varun is a winner. So if either Rahul or Varun is a winner, so you can put a negation outside. If you put a negation outside, so the answer will be negation of R dot negation of V. So these two are equivalent expressions. This is something which you must be knowing, or which you we will teach about it in the when we will be doing the rules of replacement. So we will come to know about the, but we all are aware of the De Morgan's law, right? So we know what is De Morgan's law and how it is applied. So we know that negation of R wedge V will be negation of R dot negation of V. So this is the first one. Now if you see, both Rahul and Varun are not winners. This is the question. So what it says, it also says the same thing, that Rahul is not a winner and Varun is not a winner. So it is Rahul is not a winner and Varun is not a winner. So if you see, both these expressions are actually equivalent expressions. You will get these in the book which we have shared on by Hurley, right? So but there is another question which I will like to take, and that is, okay, this one is also a good question. We will try to understand the structure. Now suppose if the question comes like not either, and then Rahul or Varun is a winner, suppose. So you can see that the structure of the statement is a very simple, it is giving a very simple understanding. It is negation of something, wedge, something. So we know this is Rahul and this is Varun, which is, if I am right, yes, I am right. So it is not either Rahul or Varun is a winner. So it is again negation of R dot negation of B, which is the same as the first one as well as the second one. But there is one way in which it can go a little bit different, and how it is going to come. The next one which we are taking, and this is also given in your book, it is either Rahul or Varun is not a winner. So it says either Rahul or Varun is not a winner. Now when you take this, it says that either Rahul or Varun is not a winner. So it clearly says that either Rahul is not a winner or Varun is not a winner, which is quite different from, or which is different from the expressions which we have taken at the first go. So there are ways of saying, and you need to also pick up the meaning of the say statement which has been given to you. Now let us take another question which is a little bit complex one. It says that if Puma and Reebok lower prices, if Puma and Reebok lower prices, or Nike downsizes, then New Balance will expand its production, So this is the question, that if Puma and Reebok lower prices or Nike downsizes, then New Balance will expand its production. Now this is a little bit complex one. There are a few more things, if I have not missed. Okay, I have not missed, because you also need to see whenever there is a question that where is the comma, like you can see a comma over here and so on. So these are certain things which you should remember. But okay, let us see first that what this statement says. That the statement says if something and something, or there is another thing, then there is another thing. So this is the basic structure of the argument, of the statement, right? So if Puma and Reebok lower prices, so if Puma and Reebok lower prices or Nike downsizes, then New Balance will expand. Now suppose if I use for Puma lower prices as P and Reebok lower prices as R, and Nike downsizes as N, and New Balance will expand its production as B. So it will be something like P and R or N then B, right? So it will be P dot R wedge N. Now you can see a comma implies B. So it is basically this, this, and this, right? So if I'm right, yes, I'm right. So this is the symbolization, that if Puma and Reebok lower prices or Nike downsizes, then New Balance will expand its production. So you can see that first we tried to make the structure of the statement, and after that we went with the symbolization. So questions like this can come, and there can be more questions like this. Maybe we will take another one for our understanding, but usually questions will come as questions will come in combination, right? So it will not be the case that you will get a very simple symbolization that okay, what is the symbolization of Rolex does not make computers? But it is important for us to understand that does not means that there has to be a negation. So that was the idea. Okay, if we can take something like yeah, there are a lot of questions, so we can take a question like this. Okay, SM video cuts admissions implies JU does the same. Okay, whatever can, anything can be JU. It can be any J university, or does not matter, it's JU, right? So if you see, it's a very simple symbolization. It's P implies Q, or if you are taking this as S and this as J, so it will be S implies J, right? But there can be questions like something on, if we say, if this is S, this we have represented as S, this is we have represented as J. So this is the symbolization. Now if I remove this and I remove this and I write at the place of implies on the condition that, on the condition that, okay. Now if this question comes that SM video cuts admissions on the condition that JU does the same, now the symbolization will not remain the same. The symbolization will be J implies S, because you know on the condition that is like provided that, and you know what is the symbolization of provided that. If we say P provided that Q, so it will be always Q implies P, right? So this kind of symbolization. So I am taking different types of symbolizations because we should go for a lot of practice, and we should also understand a lot of kinds of symbolizations because we will be using a lot of kinds of symbolizations, right? So the idea is that we use or we try to exhaust the different types of symbolizations. After that we can take exercise from any book for that matter, right? So this was another type which I wanted to tell you, because the rest of the ones we have already discussed in the class and so on. Okay, now there is one very good question which I liked a lot, and this is a question which you can also try. I will write this for you fully. It is Panasonic or Samsung. Panasonic or Samsung introduces a new wide screen TV, given that both Hitachi and Toshiba, do not do so. So if a question like this comes, you can pause the video and try it for yourself, because that will give you enough of confidence in symbolization, and that is the most important thing. That first you should learn the tricks of the trade, then you should practice a lot and get the confidence. And the confidence comes only by solving a lot of questions. So you try to solve it on your own. You can pause the video. You can pause the video at any point of the time. Okay, before I forget, there are a few things. You can always, because in some videos I will be faster, in some videos I will be slower. In some video the voice may not come in a better way. I try my best to keep the sound quality as well as the visuals better, but still we are amateurs, right? So we may not have the professional instruments, equipments, as well as we also are doing it for the first time. So there can be some problems. There are some problems, right? So there are two things which you should try to do every time. First, you should always use a headphone. So headphone not only cancels the lots and lots of noises which we are using, or which is there here and there, but it also enhances the sound quality, first thing. Second, if you feel like that there is a video which is faster, so you can slow it down. If there is a video which is slower, you can fast it, right? Because these are certain things which I need not tell you, but because there are a lot of queries and a lot of questions which come from students, so I thought that I will like to tell you as well. Okay, anyways, now this is the question which is given to us. We need to symbolize it. Now, what is the symbolization for it? Now, you can see Panasonic or Samsung introduces a new widescreen TV. So if you understand, so for P we are taking Panasonic, for S we are taking Samsung, then we will take H for Hitachi and T for Toshiba. Fine. So first one will be Panasonic introduces a new widescreen TV. So here it will come. Okay, so you need to write these things down as well, so that you can symbolize things properly. You also get the idea that why a statement or how a statement is formed, right? So that understanding needs to be very clear. Okay, similarly for S, you will write it as Samsung introduces a new widescreen TV. So here we'll go. Then Hitachi does not introduce, or Hitachi introduces a widescreen TV. In fact, you should not use does not, because that will be a negation. So Hitachi introduces I will say new widescreen TV. So that is another one. And last one will be Toshiba introduces. So the first one will be Panasonic introduces a new wide screen TV. The second will be Samsung does the same. So the rest of the things. Then Hitachi does the same, and then Toshiba does the same. Why I am doing this for you? Because you need to understand that all these statements are exactly the same statement, except for the company is changing, right? Here the first statement basically says Panasonic introduces a new widescreen TV. The second statement says Samsung introduces a new widescreen TV. The third statement says Hitachi introduces a new widescreen TV, and Toshiba introduces a new widescreen TV. So all these this PSHT are actually talking about the same thing. Now we need to structure it. Now how to structure it? If you see, it is like P wedge, or you can see S, then there is this given that, then both this and this does not do so. So it will be like Hitachi is not doing it and Toshiba is not doing it, right? Now you also need to understand that if this given that comes, this part will come forward and this part will go say behind. So actually the symbolization will be negation of H dot negation of T. Fine. Given that is an implication, but because this given that was here, so this came first and this came later, and there will be P wedge S. So there will be a bracket like this. Now if you put a bracket like this, it is good. If you do not put it, still it will be good. So this understanding has to be created by you, that how you need to symbolize, right? Let us go for another question, right? Now, as you can see, slowly and slowly, there will be nothing. It's not something which is adding. The only thing which is adding is that there will be more things in a single statement, right? So we can take another example. In fact, it is also my favorite example. The example says, if bank charge fees for teller assisted transactions. So it says, if banks charge fees for teller assisted transactions. Okay, so this is the first line. The second thing it says is, then more and more people use ATMs. Then more people use ATMs. And if that happens, fine, and ATM fees increase, and ATM fees increase, then banks will close branches. Then banks will close branches and profits will skyrocket. And profits will skyrocket. Okay, so it's quite a long one, right? So initially you can feel that or you can feel a little bit tense that you have been given such a long symbolization. In fact, if you are thinking that it is a long symbolization, I can tell you it is longer. Anyways, but let us try, because it does not matter whether it is long, longer, and this and that, we can still solve it, right? So the question says, if banks charge fees for teller assisted transactions, right? So teller assisted transaction, you can understand, like people who sit in the cashier place. So if you are going and they are charging for, like, whenever you are taking out money, they will charge. Okay. Then more people will use ATMs. In fact, this concept has also come, that why to keep people and all these calculations, and if they will charge any kind of fee for that. So what will happen? People will say, okay, if I take out money, I will be charged. So what I will do, I will take out money from ATM. In fact, people usually use ATM these days, but still for big amounts, large amounts, or very hefty amounts, people usually go to the bank directly, right? So like that. And if that happens, now the trick of this question, why I am giving you this question, lies over here. And if that happens, what happens is the question. And ATM fees increase. Now, the banks can also do like this, that okay, if you are taking out money from the ATM, then we will charge some fee because you are taking out money from the ATM. And ATM fees increase, then banks will close branches and profits will skyrocket, because every time you are taking out money from the bank, and they will earn profit. Now the question over here, and again you can pause the video and check it for yourself, that how you have done with this question, is what happens, because here you see, and if that happens. So this is the part of the question where you need to put a lot of stress, because or else if you see, if bank charges fee for teller, if bank charges fee for teller assisted transactions, so I make this part as say B. Fine. More people use ATM. Okay. So this I can keep as M. Now I do not know what that happens. I'm not right now taking it. ATM fees increase. Let me keep it as A. Okay. Banks will close branches is I can take it as C. Then profits will skyrocket, so I keep it as B. So if I try to structure this argument or this statement, so it is writing if B, then M, and if that happens, fine, and then A implies, because if A, then C, and P. So something like that comes. Now you need to understand that what is if that happens, right? This is the most difficult part of this question, because I can symbolize, because we have more or less come to the structure. Now this is the algorithm and we just need to program. So the programming is something which you will do. But in this algorithm or in this structure right now, it is still not the full symbolization. This is the problem part. If that happens, what happens? Okay. So I request you to pause the video for 1 minute. Try to solve it and then we will see the solution of it. Welcome back. So I am pretty sure that you must have paused the video and tried to solve this question. Now let us try to understand this question again. This question says that if bank charges or charge fees for teller assisted transactions, then more people will use ATM. And if that happens, now this is where I said that you should think, what will happen if people will start using ATM, or more and more people will start using ATM. So if that happens, so it is nothing but it is M. Fine. So if we restructure this, so it will be if B, so B then, so I will put it like this, if B then M, and so and I can remove this and from here and put it as a dot. Okay. M and A, and then implies C dot P. This is D. So you can put it like this, right? So now let us try to understand this question again. If bank charges fee for teller assisted transactions, then more people will use ATMs. And if that happens, what will happen? That more and more people will use ATMs, then and ATM fee increases, then banks will close branches and profits will skyrocket. So this is the understanding. Now the way of putting the bracket will be like this and this. So given this, you can see that this question, even if it looked a little bit difficult initially, but it is actually like this, right? So you can make you can take questions like that and solve it on your own, and you will find that this will be these kind of questions, even if it looks a little bit horrific, I will say, initially, but later on, as you practice and more practicing is required, you will find very easy solutions to it. Let us take a couple of questions, short questions, to just see if we are quite in harmony with the kind of questions which we are solving, right? So these, and there are different types of questions, but more or less we are trying to cover mostly all the types of questions which you can find in the book or which you can find here and there. So I will take one more question for you guys from here. Okay, so we will take this question and we will see if we can symbolize it, right? Okay. Now, the reason behind taking this kind of question is that there can be some questions which may not sound, I will say, rational, or they may sound a little bit like that this may not be the way of, this might not be the case that it will happen like this. But, and this is something which is very important for all of us, you should not judge the truth or falsity of this statement while you are symbolizing. In fact, there will be no need to judge the truth or falsity of statements in most of the part of logic. In most of the part of logic, you will be asked to evaluate an argument, right? But usually, and this is the problem, not the problem, but this is how human mind is, human mind functions, or human mind is designed, that we will be always worried about the truth or falsity of the statement. And as soon as we detect that this is not natural, or this is not something which happens, or this is not something the way things go on to take place, you will find problems with symbolization, with even proof constructions, what we will be taking at a later stage. But you should not feel tensed with these understanding. Rather, you should try and try to see the structure of a statement, try to see the structure of an argument, rather than its truth and falsity and so on. So the question is like this: Alfred will pass only if he concentrates, provided that the text is not readable. Now, it may sound a little bit counterintuitive or something like that, but does not matter. Let us see what are the things which are there. If I say P as Alfred will pass, okay, and Q is Alfred concentrates, and T will be the text is readable. Fine. So these are three simple propositions which are required for this question. Now, if you see the structure says P only if Q provided that T, right? Now, P only if Q is one part and provided that T is another part. And as you can see, provided that is here, this will come forward. So the symbolization will be T implies P implies Q, because only if the position will not change, right? So what the statement basically says is, that if the and the text is readable, we have taken, and here since it is written not readable, so we will put a negation. So if the text is not readable, then Alfred will pass only if he concentrates. So this was the question. Now, there was nothing nothing or something which you will find like, okay, this is an understanding which goes beyond our understanding and so on. But there can be questions like that. Okay, before I complete the class for today, let me also give you an idea regarding bracketing. We have talked about bracketing in some previous lectures, and I have explained the relative strength of brackets, right? So we know that the relative strength of the symbols, or the relative strength of the truth functional connectives which we use, like negation, conjunction, disjunction, implication, and equivalence. So this is also their relative strength, right? But if suppose a question comes like P implies Q implies R, right? Now you know the strength of these two are the same. So where you will put the bracket? You will put the bracket like this, or you will put the bracket like this, right? So there can be a problem like this when you have the same symbol in both the places, and you have to put the bracket. Now P implies Q implies R, and P implies Q implies R can have different values, and as I told you that the values can change because of the change of the bracket. Or like suppose if maybe it will have the same value, I will make it a little bit more complex and write it as P implies Q dot R implies Z. Fine. Now you know that if this is the question, so the first bracket will be here, because you know that these will be put into bracket. Now whether you will put the bracket here or you will put the bracket here first, right? So this is the question. Now if you face anything like this, like there are the same, the truth functional connectives are of the same type, and therefore they have the same strength. So how we will be putting the bracket? As we use the English convention, and the English convention says that we write from left to right, right? So here also you need to put the bracket from left to right. So the first thing which you will put under bracket will be the left side, and after that you will put another bracket. So this will become the main connective. Fine. So if there are equal strength symbols, equal strength truth functional connectives, so the idea of putting the bracket will be from the left. So the first thing which you should put is towards the left, and after that whatever will be left will be the one which will be becoming the main connective. So that was the idea of taking the exercises on symbolization, and I have not taken the whole of the exercises from any of the books and so on, because we will be solving all those things in the classes. The idea was to tell you that there are certain types of symbolizations, certain methods of symbolization, certain things which you should keep in mind when you are symbolizing, and all the kind of markers, because we have discussed a few or most of the markers in the theoretical classes, but there are still few more which can come in the questions. So the whole discussion was to take all those things into consideration and give you an idea about how to symbolize. Now, as I told you before as well, that you can take a book, any book which we have provided, or even a book which you can download from the internet, or you can download a lot of material from the internet. You can also solve a lot of questions which are there, and try to see how good you are doing with symbolizations. And if you feel any problem with symbolization, you can always ask in the classes. And if there are a lot of questions, so I may shoot another video on symbolizations. So this is all from my side. So whenever you are coming to the class next time, you prepare up to symbolizations, so we can also discuss symbolizations in the class. So thank you very much for watching.